Let's talk about how to pass the interview to become a Tesco colleague. Hello friends, my name's Mike, and this has been one of our most requested videos via email, which is namely how to get a job at Tesco's as a Tesco colleague. I'm going to go through exactly what you can expect in this video, most common questions, other questions. We're going to be covering 14 questions, and I'm going to help you think about how to answer and prepare to answer these questions. And also there is a free research note down in the description below. I want to help you as much as I can to pass this interview. I've worked in retail. You might be 17 and watching this video. You might be going back to work. You may be a single mum, and I want to be able to help you, and I don't want anything from you at all. And this video is a way for me to be your personal coach wherever you are, to help you to get this job, because I know what a difference it's going to make in your life. Now, first of all, I want to start off with some fast facts about Tesco. This is really important when you get asked the question, why do you want to work for Tesco? Now, I'm taking these from this research note. It's 7 pages, and within the research note there are 65 facts about Tesco, which I've taken directly from their annual report. So Tesco employs 345,000 people in the UK. It's actually the second largest private employer behind Compass, and in 2024 they had a revenue in excess of £60 billion. Tesco has been voted Britain's favourite supermarket by customers and has provided over 450,000 free school meals to kids. Tesco app, which we all know and love, and your Tesco Club card, has 16 million active users, which is wild. Tesco has donated the equivalent of 80 million meals across its organisation. 84% of employees recommended Tesco as a great place to work, and Tesco actually provides a 24/7 virtual doctor service for anybody who gets ill. All these facts are in the research note and more. So what can you expect? First of all, if you go to Tesco's career website, you'll see a lot of jobs which are advertised as a Tesco colleague. A Tesco colleague is somebody who works in Tesco as a customer assistant, and they are responsible for meeting and greeting customers, working on the till, replenishing stock, being part of community events. One thing that I highly recommend that you do, particularly if you haven't had an interview for some time, is make sure you print off the job description and have a really clear understanding of the job that you're going to be doing. The interview is based around the job description, as are the questions. Now, Tesco's interview format to become a Tesco colleague is pretty straightforward. First of all, you're going to apply online, and you're going to get a call, which is known as a HR screener. And these calls are pretty quick. They won't last longer than 10 minutes. It's just to verify that you are who you say you are, that you're in the location that is correct, when you're available to do an interview, and that you are able to work. From that, they're then going to arrange a face-to-face interview, which happens in store, generally with the store manager. Depending upon the size of the store, as you know, we'll have Tesco Expresses and also these Tesco Superstores, and that will be a 30-minute face-to-face interview. Now, in the interview, you can expect a mixture of motivation, competency, and values-based questions. This sounds like quite a lot, but I'll break it down to keep it as simple as possible. Motivation is essentially, why do you want to work at Tesco? Why do you want to do this job? A competency is giving examples of times when you have done certain things, like resolving a conflict, demonstrating good leadership. And the values-based question, which tie into the competency-based question, is that almost certainly in your interview, there is going to be a number of questions which strongly concentrate around customer service. This is something that came up time and time again in our research as we trawled through a couple of hundred different interviews from people who had recorded their experience on Glassdoor. And as we go through this video, I'm going to talk about the different questions that you can get, i.e. the ones that are most likely, because that's easiest for you to prepare for, and then what you can do to prepare to be really effective during the interview. So first of all, what are Tesco's values? And it's important to know a company's values because the interview is going to be based around it. So first of all, customer focus. No one tries harder for customers. Customers are the priority. Focus on the little things to make a big difference. Now from this, you can infer that you're going to get questions about customer service. Respect, treat people how they want to be treated, have trust and respect for one another, listen and support each other, say thank you and show appreciation. That's talking about teamwork. And helping customers, colleagues, communities and the planet share information and experience. So what are the 7 most common questions that we came across in our research that came up in the face-to-face interview in the store? Question number 1, why do you want to work for Tesco's? Now, when you're refining an answer, a script for this question, pick out some interesting, specific facts. What you don't want to do is just say, well, it's close by, it's really big, come here with my kids. You can say that, but what you've got to think about is you want to be a little bit different to everybody else. And a lot of people are going to say that. Believe me, I've spent 12 years helping to coach people into jobs all around the world. Do yourself a favor, download the research note, pick out a couple of the facts, and pick out facts that are interesting to you. One of the big problems that people have with interviews is saying, what do you think they're going to want me to say? Don't think like that. The way that you want to think is, what is interesting to you and relevant to the job? So what is interesting is just a couple of facts like the ones that I gave that just makes that person go, wow, they really did their homework. Question number 2, what are your preferred working hours? Well, this seems like a strange question to have, but something that a lot of candidates responded and said it was possibly a deal breaker was when people put limitations on what their preferred working hours are. Now, I understand if you're watching this and you're a single working mum or dad, or just somebody who does have limitations on the working hours, this is something that you're going to potentially have to dictate if you can't get childcare. My honest advice to you is just say, I can work whenever. The reason being is if it's really important that you get this job and you get your foot in the door, you'll make it work. Now, all situations are not the same, and I am generalizing, but particularly if you don't have to worry about childcare, please don't sit there and go, well, I can't really do Monday evening, I can't really do then, I can't really do then. From the employer's point of view, from Tesco's point of view, they just want people who are as flexible as possible because they have staffing shortages, particular shifts that need to be covered. So just start off by being flexible and try and negotiate that, because then you're working and you're getting paid. Question number 3, can you describe a time when you went above and beyond for a customer? First of all, there will be people watching this video who say, I don't have experience of working with customers, I don't have work experience, or that work experience was a long time ago. Right, so break this down. Do you have experience doing volunteering? Do you just have experience serving somebody else, taking care of somebody else? This is really important to point out because very often people are fixated on the fact that they have no work experience. Okay, we get it. This is your first job or your first job after a long period of time. Now for the latter, if it's been a long period of time, it doesn't matter, right? You've had a period of time out of work and you're going back into work. Still use that. Really, what your interviewer is looking for you to demonstrate is that you understand what good customer service is. So good customer service is understanding somebody's needs, listening to them, trying to go above and beyond. I'll give you a very simple example, which I see regularly. I have a food business and I have to visit supermarkets 6 days a week. If I can't find something and I ask somebody where it is, there is somebody who will exceed my expectations. They will, as I will say, excuse me, could you tell me where chopped onions are? They will stop what they're doing, get up, listen to me and say, oh, how can I help you? And I say, oh, sorry, could you just tell me where the chopped onions are? And they go, oh yeah, that's on R1 over by the vegetables. Do you know where that is? And I'm like, oh, they can see on my face that I don't. I go, oh, let me go and show you where it is. Come with me. Then you get the second type of person who doesn't even look at you, like doesn't acknowledge your existence, basically feels like you are interrupting their work when that's their job. They're there to be of service, and they say, oh, it's over there, it's over by R1, and then they just get back to what they're doing. And I'm like, thanks, that's not very helpful. We all know what good customer service looks like because we feel it when we get it, and we are slightly resentful in a British way when we don't get it. So thinking of an example, if you don't have one, think of an example when you've seen great customer service or what you feel good customer service is. Question number 4, could you name a time when you're out of your comfort zone? So really importantly, for these type of competency-based questions, try to root it into facts. When was it? Where were you? What was the challenge? Who else was involved? Don't imagine that you're answering an interview question. Imagine that you're telling a story or you're teaching somebody how to do something that you just did. This is a really good way to reframe. It works really well when I'm talking to professionals and one-to-ones, and particularly parents. So when I talk to parents about not thinking about an interview question, but an opportunity to teach somebody something, they switch into parent mode and they go, oh yeah, okay. So I'm like, can you teach your child through a story how to overcome discomfort or grow out of your comfort zone? You're like, oh yeah, of course. So there was a time when this is a perfect example. And just make sure that you are demonstrating something that is clearly understandable why it's difficult. If you think, well, it's difficult to explain, it's up to you to make it easy to explain. For example, yesterday on a one-to-one consultation, a young man was talking to me about how the interviewer didn't understand when he was talking about training for his first amateur MMA fight, which is mixed martial arts. Why? Because the interviewer didn't know anything about martial arts and doesn't watch it on TV. So I said, well, look, then try to explain it using the like bridge. So say, do you know what MMA is? And they're like, oh no. I go, okay, do you play any sport? Oh yeah, I play squash. Oh, okay. So it's kind of like an 8-week intensive everyday camp to become a competitive squash player. And they're like, oh, okay, that sounds pretty intense. You see how I'm trying to frame it in terms of something that you understand. Question number 5, tell me about your customer service experience. Okay, so again, if you don't have that experience, you can say that you don't, but you can say that you know what good customer service is, how it should be demonstrated. You can relate it to the job description, which is very helpful in talking about customer service and what that would involve, and breaking it down to the individual tasks and responsibilities and say, hey, I might not have customer service experience, but I've done stock replenishment. I've actually worked on tills before. I have done this and I have done that. And you can relate it to some if you can't relate it to all of that experience, rather than just kind of shutting down going, oh, I don't know how to do that. Well, then obviously you're probably not going to get the job. And you understand why, right? Because they're not looking for somebody who's the finished article, but they are looking for somebody who they can train and who is willing to learn to become good at customer service. If you have customer service experience, just relate it in a way where it's clear and easy to understand. How long did you do it? Where did you do it? What were you doing? How many customers were you seeing on a daily basis? Just using simple facts and figures so we can understand the scale of what you have done. For example, when I was 23 years old, I was the assistant manager at Pound Stretchers. On average, we had 50 customers a day, 4 staff working at any time, which was 1 or 2 cashiers, somebody replenishing stock, and somebody just generally managing the store. And this involved everything from stock replenishment to working on the till, to refunds and answering customer queries or speaking to an area manager, right? So that just gives you an idea of the scale. And I was there for about 6 months. I was awful. I was really bad at it. They're better off without me. So just the numbers give an indication of the size and scope of your competence, if that makes sense. Question number 6, how would you handle disputes? Now, disputes is something that might come up with a colleague, it may come up with a customer, particularly when people get upset. So the most important thing with a dispute is, number 1, to be safe, to make sure that there's a reasonable distance, to listen to the customer's dispute, to signpost them to the correct person to speak to. It may be to speak over the intercom that you want assistance from another colleague or from a manager, and to really understand what exactly it is that is the customer's problem. For example, they're returning an item and they're upset. Okay, a little bit of empathy and compassion would dictate that We all sometimes get a little bit upset, but it's not personal. So by listening, showing understanding, in most cases you can diffuse the situation. Question number 7, what would you do if someone came over to ask for help? So I just covered this. Paying attention to somebody when they're talking to them is important, not just in customer service, but I feel in life in general. When I'm speaking to somebody, I want to give them my undivided attention to make them feel like they are valid. Why? Just a golden rule that treat other people as you would wish to be treated. I would like to be treated like that. So when somebody comes over and asks for help, it's just understanding what they need help with, seeing if they understand the instructions that I've given them, and giving them assistance until the request has been fulfilled. So those are the most common questions. Here's some other questions which I'm just going to go through quickly. These are all in the research note. There are 14 questions in total. 1, tell me about a situation where you overcome a difficulty. This is very similar to getting out of your comfort zone. Clearly defining the difficulty and using the STAR format, so situation, task, action, result, placing the emphasis of your answer on the action, i.e. what you did. Number 2, what do you spend time doing in your spare time? Doesn't need to be too deep. Trying to pick something out that's interesting. Hopefully you do a little bit more than just sit at home and watch Netflix, but it could be reading, sport, some type of hobby. Again, you don't need to provide a huge amount of detail. It can be short and to the point. Tell me about a time that resolved a conflict of a colleague or peer. Very similar to resolving a dispute. Number 4, how would you deal with an annoyed customer who's asking about something that is not your department? Again, very similar to just being kind, compassionate, being understanding. Yes, nobody has the right to treat you poorly, but ultimately when somebody is in a bad mood, what really gets me through is I just think, this has got absolutely nothing to do with me. I don't even know who you are. And some people are just rude, and karma will get there. Question 5, how do you think you'd fit into the team? I think this is really about a reflection about your personal skills, your personal abilities, and just saying, look, I'm really easy to get on with. I'm very happy to help other people. I am on time. I'm happy to do the work and fill in wherever I need to fill in. What they're really looking for, and something to think about, is why would they say no? Is people going, well, I don't really want to do this, and I don't really do that, and I don't really like this. And believe me, if they're niggly and fiddly already, it's just going to get worse. And a good manager will see that and just go, thanks, don't call us, we'll call you. Question 6, what do you do in a situation of customer problem with theft? There's a pretty strict policy when it comes to theft. It's not about interacting, it's about observing, reporting to your manager so that further action could be taken using CCTV or potentially calling the police. Nothing is more important than your own personal safety. It's not about you rugby tackling somebody to the ground because they're making off with a coat load of steak. Tesco are well aware about the difficulties of shoplifting, and it is not your personal responsibility to tackle shoplifting. That's not your job. So just being really mindful about that, staying calm, reporting the problem over to somebody else. Question 7, what are your strengths and weaknesses? It's good to pick out 1 or 2 strengths that relate to the job description. I would say around customer service and being able to get on with people, or just attention to detail, being disciplined, being rigorous, being on time. A weakness, people tend to struggle with this question. A good weakness is something that is partially true. So sometimes it might be, well, sometimes I can be a little bit of a chatterbox. I think that's pretty good with customers, because I know for myself personally, I like to go to places where people know me, and I feel like it's a little bit more than just kind of a dead corporate facade. For example, from my personal experience, near me there is an Asda and a Tesco. I love going to the Tesco. The older ladies there are absolutely lovely. They all know me, they have a little chat. It's a vibe. It's really nice. Whereas Asda, dead. No, like I remember going to Asda for like a couple of weeks and I can't even get someone to say good morning. I mean, yes, they're doing their job. I guess they're doing the same job, but you can just tell that the vibe is just different. And recently I started going back to Tesco, funnily enough. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that this has been helpful. I will put a link where you can download an example job description, and the research note is completely free. Please let me know how you get on with your interview. Drop me a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel for more videos. Got any questions? Ask me down below. I read all the comments and I answer them, and I wish you the best of luck. You're gonna do great. Bye.